A wristwatch calling 911 sounds like science fiction until you realize it's been quietly doing it for a while now. Not in ads or DMOS, but in real kitchens, sidewalks, and intersections. I didn't fully grasp that until last week, when my grandson explained fall detection with casual confidence. I nodded because that's what adults do when absorbing new information in public. The idea felt ordinary to him and strange to me. A watch making decisions used to be about punctuality. Now it's about emergencies, and that shift happens without much announcement or ceremony. Here's the part worth slowing down for. An Apple Watch can actually place a 911 call on its own, not metaphorically or as a suggestion. It can dial emergency services, share your location, and alert emergency contacts without you saying a word, which still feels slightly unreal. That alone raises an eyebrow if you grew up when watches told time and nothing else. This didn't appear overnight. Apple didn't wake up and decide to replace emergency services. The feature arrived in pieces, added gradually, quietly, and with very little drama attached to it. First came Emergency SOS, where you press and hold a button and the watch calls 911 for you. Then Fall Detection, looking for a hard fall followed by no movement. Then Crash Detection, using sensors to identify severe car accidents. Each step added automation, not panic. Here's how it works in practice. If the watch detects a hard fall, it taps you and asks if you're okay. If you move or respond, it stops. If you don't, it counts down and places the call, assuming capability until proven otherwise. The same logic applies to crash detection. The system waits rather than rushing in. That matters because false alarms do happen. Roller coasters have triggered it. Skiing has triggered it. Aggressive workouts too. The watch isn't psychic. It reads force, speed, and stillness. When that combination looks serious, it errs on the side of caution, which is reassuring and occasionally inconvenient. Conceptually, this replaces the medical alert pendant, the necklace button that announces vulnerability before you ever need it. The watch promises a similar safety net without the visual signal. That lack of stigma matters more than companies admit. Many people don't want to look like they're preparing for an emergency, even if they are. The practical questions follow quickly. Do you need a cellular plan? Not always. Nearby phones can handle the call. Battery life still matters. A dead watch doesn't call anyone. This isn't magic. It's hardware with limits. Privacy comes up next. Yes, the watch shares location with 911 during emergencies. No, it's not listening all day. These features stay dormant until triggered by motion or your choice. You can turn them off entirely if you want. The watch doesn't override consent. It depends on it. So is this a luxury or a lifesaver? The honest answer is both, depending on who's wearing it and how they move through the world. For someone steady and rarely alone, it's convenience. For someone living alone, driving often, or at real risk of falling, it becomes a safety tool that doesn't feel like one. The most useful part isn't the call itself. It's that it waits, checks, and acts quietly when you can't. By the time most people hear that an Apple Watch can call 911, the details are already blurred. It sounds either miraculous or ridiculous, depending on tolerance for gadgets. So it helps to slow down and separate what's automatic, what's optional, and what only works if you've actually set it up. There are 3 different paths to an emergency call, and they're easy to confuse because they all end the same way. The first is Emergency SOS. You press and hold the side button, a countdown appears, and the watch calls 911 only because you chose it deliberately. That first path is the simplest to understand because nothing happens by accident. It's the digital version of picking up a phone when you know something's wrong. No sensors guessing, no automation stepping in. Just a clear, intentional request for help when you're able to make it. The second path is fall detection, where automation enters carefully. The watch looks for a hard fall followed by stillness. If that pattern appears, it taps you and asks if you're okay, waiting for movement or a response before doing anything further. If you move or respond, the process stops. If you don't, the watch assumes you can't and places the call after a short countdown. The important detail is patience. It doesn't jump straight to sirens. It waits, checking before it acts on your behalf. Crash detection works the same way, just with different sensors. The watch measures force, motion, and sudden stops to identify severe car accidents. If it detects one, it checks for a response. Silence becomes the deciding factor, not panic or guesswork. This is where false alarms enter the conversation. Roller coasters have triggered it. Skiing has triggered it. Some intense workouts too. That isn't drama. Sudden force plus stillness looks the same to a sensor, whether it's danger or recreation. The trade-off is caution over certainty. Now about cellular service. You don't always need it. If your watch is near your iPhone, it can route the call through the phone. Cellular matters if you leave your phone behind or drive without it nearby. If the watch can't reach a phone or a network, it can't call anyone. That's not a flaw, that's physics. Battery life matters more than marketing suggests, too. These features don't help if the watch is dead. Charging becomes part of the safety equation. Privacy usually gets overstated in one direction and ignored in another. The watch isn't listening all day. It isn't scanning conversations. Location is shared only during an emergency call. All of these features can be turned off. Nothing overrides consent. When people compare this to the old medical alert pendant, they miss the cultural shift. The pendant worked, but announced vulnerability before help was needed. The watch does similar work quietly. That difference affects whether people actually wear the thing meant to help. So is it a luxury or a lifesaver? It depends on who's wearing it. For some, it's convenience. For others, it's closer to insurance. The only firm rule is simple: understand it, set it, charge it, or it's just a very polite wristwatch. By the time you've sorted out what the Apple Watch can and can't do, a quieter question shows up. Not whether it works, but whether it actually fits into your life. This isn't a gadget problem. It's a context problem shaped by routines, risks, and ordinary days. The same feature can feel either reassuring or unnecessary depending on who's wearing it and how their days unfold. That contrast is easy to miss in reviews and ads, but it's the part that actually matters once the watch is on your wrist. If you live alone, the calculation changes immediately. Not dramatically, just practically. There's no one in the next room to hear a fall, no one noticing when a routine breaks. In that situation, a device that can wait, check, and act becomes a quiet backstop. It isn't exciting or futuristic. It just sits there, doing nothing most of the time until it's needed. That's the appeal. For people without immediate backup nearby, the value isn't in features. It's in the absence of gaps when something goes wrong. The same logic applies to people who drive a lot. Long commutes, rural roads, regular highway miles. Crash detection isn't predicting disaster. It's acknowledging that physics still applies, and sometimes you're not the one deciding how a moment ends. In those cases, automation isn't indulgent. It's coverage. It's a system that waits for silence before acting, not one that panics early. That distinction matters when seconds count and assumptions can make things worse instead of better. On the other hand, if you're steady on your feet, rarely alone, and always have your phone nearby, the watch shifts back toward convenience. Nice to have, not essential. That doesn't make it foolish. It simply places it among many optional modern tools. Cost tends to muddy this conversation, so it's worth being plain. An Apple Watch costs more upfront than a traditional medical alert pendant, but pendants don't stop charging monthly. Ambulances don't negotiate. None of those numbers stay abstract once you've seen a bill. There's also a social layer that rarely gets named. The watch doesn't announce why you're wearing it. It doesn't signal vulnerability or preparation. It just looks like a watch. That matters because people actually wear things that don't feel like declarations. Privacy concerns usually get exaggerated in both directions. The watch isn't monitoring your day or recording conversations. It does very little most of the time. Then, under specific conditions you allow, it does exactly one thing and stops. What this really comes down to is familiarity. We didn't grow up with wristwatches that made phone calls. We grew up adapting to new systems as they arrived. Dial-up, airbags, atoms, each felt strange until it didn't. This is another update. So the question isn't whether the Apple Watch is a luxury or a lifesaver. It's whether it fits your version of normal. Old dogs don't chase trends. We pace beside them, take what's useful, and leave the rest. You're still learning. Still in it. See you in the next move.